Hi everyone, I'm Sandy. I hope everyone is having a fantastic week. I am definitely still out in the middle of nowhere camping, but I thought normally I would do a 1001 book countdown video on Saturdays. So I thought what I would do today is actually give you the first 25 book recap, and it's just slices of my previous videos all kind of put together for you in one place, but it's a great way to catch up on all of the activity so far. Yay! But I hope you like it, and hopefully I'm surviving the heat out where we're camping because it's supposed to be quite warm. Fingers crossed. And I promise, please like, comment, and subscribe. I promise to answer all comments when I get back, and I hope everyone is well and taking a break where they can, and enjoy. Thanks everyone. I'm so incredibly excited because this is my first 1001 book countdown video where I'm actually going to reduce down my number. 1001, the Three-Penny Opera. The knife says the beggars are begging, the thieves are stealing, the whores are whoring. A ballad singer sings a ballad. See the shark with teeth like razors, all can read his open face, and McHeath has got a knife, but not in such an obvious place. But wasn't my favorite. 1000, The Passage to India. I thought it was an interesting book. I was pleasantly surprised. This week's a good one. Book 999, Silence. It is a very moving book. It's also been made into a movie, which I have seen, which I thought was just kind of Book 998, Austerlitz. I did make it through this book. Did enjoy it for the most part. 997, Animals, People. A foul-mouthed character who absolutely obsesses about sex. I did give this 4.5 stars on Goodreads. I talk about hope a lot, and one of the things in here that just really moved me is this line: hope dies in places like this because hope lives in the future, and there's no future here. How can you think about tomorrow when all your strength is used up trying to get through today? Book 996, Rabbit is Rich. Spoiler, I did not have a good reading week. I did not like this book. It's my lowest rated book of all year, maybe of all time. 995, Silas Marner. This was an absolutely wonderful book. I gave it 4 stars, and I can't really even reconcile why I didn't rate it higher than that. Book 994, A World of Love. What? What was that? Ultimately, I wanted it to be a different story than it was, and that's primarily why I ended up giving it 2.5 stars. 993, Tarka the Otter. This is told from the otter's perspective, but Williamson did a really lovely job of making you care about the otter. Rated this 4.5 stars, which I'm trying to figure out why I rated it higher than Silas Marner. 992, On Love. On Love is basically a commentary on love. The telephone becomes an instrument of torture in the demonic hands of a beloved who doesn't call. I did really like it, and it was a very fast read. I read it over just, I believe, a few days. Book 991, Monica. Fiercely attacked by Welsh-speaking critics for its portrayal of sexual obsession and manipulation. Okay, interesting. Monica, is portrayed as a very horrible human being. It's been a good week. Book 990, Martin Eden. I was not expecting Martin Eden. A story between him and Ruth, which was the part I wasn't expecting. It also was really a love story between him and education. And oh my God, I hated how this ended. I was so mad at Martin Eden. I mean, why? Why, Martin Eden? Why? 989, The Book of Disquiet. Random thoughts. It makes me think of like Pessoa putting his head to the side and just letting everything fall out. That is pretty much this book. It says, just as some people work because they're bored, I sometimes write because I have nothing to say. Daydreaming, which occurs naturally to people when they're not thinking, and me takes written form, for I know how to dream in prose. I ended up giving it about 3.5 stars. 988, Troubling Love. It was not my favorite book. Why, oh why, did she, Elena Ferrante, in this book, decide to spend so much time, 6 times in the first 80 pages of a very short book, talking about the main character having her period. In 87, House by the Meddler Tree. Unfortunately, it goes horribly, horribly wrong. It's a tragic story of family loss, and I ended up giving it 3.5 stars. 986, Giovanni's Room. I still haven't picked up a happy book. My goodness. I scarcely know how to describe that room. It became, in a way, every room I had ever been in, and every room I find myself in hereafter will remind me of Giovanni's room. And very tragically for Giovanni, I get 4.5 stars, and the only reason why I didn't give it 5 was really I didn't like David as my book. 985, Orlando. I am going to say this was a hard book for me. That's what I'm going to say. It's confusing. 2.5 stars. Best part about it was when he transitioned from male to female. Book 984, Blonde. This book is a chunker of a book. A fictional reimagining of Marilyn Monroe. It is not a biography. I ended up giving it 4 stars. I thought it was really good. My one complaint, yeah, 700 and something pages. That's a lot. Book 983, Transit. Of getting a visa, how hard it is to be a refugee, how difficult it is to work your way through all of the bureaucracy to try and get what you need to be able to escape. But it is one that I was very, very surprised by this book. I was ultimately not expecting this. I wasn't tired at all. What was I going to do? Read? That's what I used to do on free evenings like this. Never again. I felt that old boyhood reluctance to reading a book, that reaction against invented stories about a life that wasn't real. If something had to be invented, if this cobbled together life we were living was too wretched, then I wanted to be the inventor of another life, but not on paper. Book 982, Casino Royale. It's actually the first book in the James Bond series, and it is the book that launched the franchise, the phenomena that is James Bond. And, the book was exactly as I would expect it to be. And read, it is one, there's no real surprises in this. I guess the only real surprise is that the misogyny took about 1/3 of the book to actually show up. It officially marks my 20th book, if you can believe that, on my 1001 book countdown. Book 981, Northanger Abbey. Of course, I do love Jane Austen, but the Abbey doesn't actually show up until about halfway through the book. Someone behind the scenes was causing some problems. I like the story quite a bit, about 3.5 stars. Book 980, Uncle Silas. So Uncle Silas ended up being such a surprise for me, and the last 50 pages or so of this book were 100% just a big page turner. It's like, oh my gosh, okay, what's happening? Giving it a solid 4 stars. Book 979, Pamela. I don't even know how to talk about this book. Just talk about the good. Shouldn't take long. I'm getting ready. I'm getting ready for my semi-rant. We'll see how it goes. I would like to leave. I don't want to leave. I want to leave. I can't get out. Her writing letters to her parents, and her parents writing letters back. It was so slow and so boring. 978, Pereira Declares. Declares is based in 1938 fascist Portugal and follows the main character whose name is Pereira. Really an interesting story about kind of just that time and about fascism, essentially. I ended up giving it around the 3.5 stars mark. 977, the Midwich Cuckoos. What you find is that there was an object that went into town and that made everyone fall asleep for 24 hours, and at the end of the 24 hours, all of the women in Midwich who were there are now pregnant. What in the world happened in that town? Learned that there's something not quite right about the kids. 976, Miss Pettigrew Lives for a Day. This book, well, unfortunately, was a bit of a disappointment. I had thought it was a Cinderella retelling, which is what the front of the book says, or the beginning of the book says, and I did not get that from this book at all. I did still end up giving it 3 stars, which meant I did like it. I thought it was an interesting book. And that is the first 25. I'm 2.5% of the way through my list. Thank you so much for watching, everyone.